Hey, what's up, everybody? It's the Rich Eisen Show basketball podcast. We're back. Yay! That just fell flat.
Hey.
All right, everybody, we're back. We're back. Hey. Off last week. Hope you guys had a great 4th of July holiday. Hope you've been enjoying Summer League and NBA free agency and all the crazy mad rumors. We were just talking about Harrison Ford right before we came on the air. He's 80 today, guys. That is absolutely insane. He has no basketball ties whatsoever. I have no idea if he's a fan. But are you Han Solo or Indiana Jones, Adam? He's from Chicago. He's your guy.
Yeah, I'm more of an Indiana Jones guy.
Okay.
I like the adventures that he has in that. Yeah. I mean, I enjoy that.
TJ, Han Solo or Indiana Jones?
I mean, what an impossible question, because
I know.
Star Wars, I was a kid when that came out.
Yeah,
I mean,
huge.
I was like 4, but for some reason I can still vividly recall. So, huge Star Wars fan. Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom was the first movie I ever saw twice. Two consecutive times in the movie theater.
Wow.
Like I went and then I somehow snuck in.
Like
and
same day or next day?
Didn't leave the theater. Okay.
You just stayed?
Whoa.
Stayed. I was like 10 or 11.
Oh, that's
yeah,
amazing.
like yeah. So that's really tough,
amazing.
man.
Wow, that's awesome.
But I know you hate it when I do this, so I guess you got to go with your first love, and that would be Han Solo.
Yeah, Han
But that's a
Solo.
tough one,
Come on,
man.
Did you just chill like in the hallway or like in the actual theater? Or what did
basically
you do?
what I can remember from that day is I think maybe a church group of kids went, and we went to the theater and we watched it, and then all I can remember is like, oh, here's what happened. We went to go see one movie that I didn't want to see, so I kind of snuck in myself to see Indiana Jones, and the movie had already started. So I got to see probably 2/3 of it. Then I just hung around and dipped back in and then watched the entire movie. So it was the same day, and that's kind of how that happened.
That's incredible.
Yeah, so
Good job. Harrison Ford. Oh, man. Awesome. Fugitive. I might watch The Fugitive tonight.
True story. I've never seen The Fugitive. That's bad,
Adam,
right?
oh, my gosh.
That's bad, isn't it?
You need to watch The Fugitive tonight. It's got to be on some streaming. Just find it.
I think it takes place in the town next to me where I grew up. I think it takes place in Lake Forest, Illinois.
I mean, it's
right?
all in Chicago.
Yeah, I
all
have
of
to
it
see
is in
that.
Chicago. They use local Chicago actors. What's her face has been here so many. We play that. Jane Lynch, we play the story all the time.
I know. It's bad.
Oh, wow. Tommy Lee Jones won the Academy Award for supporting actor.
I know it's a good movie.
Okay, good. Just watch it.
Well, just kind of looking at Harrison Ford's background in sports, I'm just now seeing here that when he graduated from Maine East High School in Park Ridge, Illinois,
Yep.
his voice was the first student voice broadcast on his high school's new radio station.
Okay.
And he was its first sportscaster during its senior year.
That is incredible.
So there's some Harrison Ford
And he's
sports.
a big guy, so it wouldn't surprise me that if he probably played football or something growing up,
So
right?
in-
Baseball?
in- Another-
doesn't even mention that.
In another world, he could have been the next Bob Costas or somebody like that.
Wow, could you imagine? What would our world be like with no Harrison Ford?
Not as fun, I can tell you that.
Not as fun. All right, speaking of fun, let's get to the NBA stuff that's been going on, guys. Wow, what a crazy offseason it's been so far. Not like huge moves. It's just been a lot of guys kind of re-signing and re-upping with their teams. Like Joker signed, the biggest contract ever. Dame Lillard got a 2-year bajillion-dollar extension with Portland, which is crazy to think about. Zion got his. Who else? Who am I missing? Zach LaVine re-upped with you guys with Chicago. So, but just
James
before,
Harden took less money to stay.
has he re-signed though? Did he
I don't know
announce
if
a deal yet?
I don't know if the pen's technically been put to paper, but apparently from all points, that's
so
what he's doing. And
so
that's
he
the plan.
rejected his or turned down his player option for like $47 million or
and,
something, just so the team could have a little more flexibility.
Yeah, I think basically his move is going to get them an extra $4 million to play with.
I was actually thinking about it. I was hearing someone else talk about it. It seemed like it was smart strategy. He turned down, take $30 million instead of $47.
Yeah,
but
you're not starving.
But if he has a good year, then he can sign a max, probably for a little bit more.
Well,
so you're turning down a little bit to maybe get another 3-year, $100 million kind of down the line.
Chris, I find it a little ridiculous because it's like at this point, you keep getting older and your skills are diminishing. So it's like, wait a minute. So now we've kind of already have this conversation about your diminished returns. But now we're like, oh, well, we're still going to give you a huge contract like next year. That's just weird to me. I know that's how it works.
It's weird.
But also the thing with Harden is, okay, I don't know what his net worth is, but he signed a couple $100 million contracts with Adidas, right? Like he
massive
okay,
contracts.
and he's already had a massive contract. So at this point, I don't know James Harden. I don't know what his mentality is. Obviously you can't tell someone that you have enough money.
Oh, so he did sign a 2-year 68.
68, okay. My thing with that is what you said. If you already got that money and you've got the accolades, there's one thing that's missing off this James Harden resume, and that's the title. Yeah. So at some point, you're going to have to like say, all right, you want money, you have a lot of money. Do you want to give your team the flexibility to add pieces so that you can get that one thing that's, kind of keeping you off of those all-time great lists? So I kind of hope that's where his mentality was. If you recall last year, right after the NBA Finals, and we got to see Giannis going to Chick-fil-A. He was having fun.
It was amazing.
And remember what I don't know if you remember what I told you, but I told you, man, I hope right now Joel Embiid is watching every clip of this and saying there's no reason that this cannot be me. And, he did come out and had a fantastic year, could have been MVP. And it seemed like he really did I don't know if it was the Giannis thing that made him work extra hard, but he had a great season. Of course, injuries hurt him. So I'm hoping that maybe Harden sees that same thing. Because remember, a few years ago, guys, we had a bunch of point guards. It was, Wall and D Rose and Steph and Harden and Russ. And at that point, you may have put Steph Curry as like fifth best on that list, right? Now Harden sees that like, if I want to like be the man or, kind of raise myself on this list, he's got to get a ring.
Well, TJ, what's interesting is I've noticed a lot on social media that there are random sightings of James Harden in public gyms throughout the country.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have seen this.
No, I haven't.
I've seen one or two.
Yeah, there's been a few videos of people just posting workout videos. Then, like in the background, like on a TikTok video, it'll just show James Harden like just chilling on like a Tuesday afternoon at LA Fitness.
Yeah, working. He's putting in work, man.
He looks like he's putting in work, and he's in the weight room when they show him. And there's another video. I don't know if you guys saw this. He was with Maxey working out, and Sam Cassell was leading the workout. And it was hilarious because James Harden looked so confused during the workout because it was essentially a drill to do medium range jump shots. And first of all, that's not in James Harden's vocabulary or his game. He doesn't know what that is to begin with.
Well, maybe he needs to know because I'm a big proponent of that. Obviously, James Harden is not the guy to maybe take this advice. But yesterday we talked on the Big Show, Chris, and, kind of jokingly, I said, well, Steph Curry ruined basketball. And you're like, how, why? And I'm like, because Steph Curry has been blessed by the Lord above. I mean, like, every one of us has shot a basketball well into the thousands of times. None of us are a million we're not even close to being anywhere as skilled or as good as Steph Curry shooting a ball. But what that did was much like when A1 mixtapes came out, right? And you watched a bunch of people doing a bunch of stuff that most people can't do, and then you ran out there and you tried to incorporate it in your game and failed miserably.
Oh yeah, the one move where you fall on the ground, like
all of those moves around the back. I mean, I can remember watching N1 mixtapes, and the second that VCR tape ran out, we were hitting the court. I think with Steph, you see a guy who makes it look so fluid and so easy, and then you also have Clay's doing it, and it's like, okay, let's everybody shoot from 30 feet. Not everybody can do that. So, I mean, it was kind of joking he ruined basketball, but I don't know. Come to your own conclusion.
You remember that Nike commercial they did with all those guys, too?
Oh, yeah.
It was awesome.
Darius Miles.
Yeah, so I only know one guy. This guy, Barry Baker, I went to college with. He, one of the greatest athletes in the history of Long Island. Ended up being like a Prop 49 guy and played football at Syracuse. He could do every one of those N1 moves. He was the best basketball player I've ever played with pickup. Phenomenal. Unbelievable. And him and I had this like thing going. I got a lot of respect at Syracuse. TJ doesn't believe it, but I was a really good pickup player in college. And
would you play with a lot of the football players in intramural games?
So the football players, once season ended, they'd come up and play. Dwight Freeney dunked on my friend in a pickup game. It was incredible. And it's like this dude, Barry Baker, could do all of the N1 moves, and I'd never seen anybody do those before. And it just blew my like in 2000, that just blew your mind.
The cool thing also that I thought was incredible was when Skip to My Lou, Rafir Alston, he was the N1 mixtape legend, and then he actually had a good career in
the NBA.
I was so happy when that happened because I used to love watching his tape constantly and then going to the park and failing to do his moves every single time, but having fun doing it.
So, TJ, you kind of got into it before I got a chance to set it up, but I wanted us to talk about our own teams. Just going to be a short pod today, but I wanted to talk about our own teams and how we view and how we feel about the moves or no moves our teams kind of made in the beginning of NBA free agency. We're like 2 weeks into it now. We're still waiting for Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving to maybe change teams. We'll talk about that in a second. But how do you feel Philadelphia? We'll start with them. How do you think Philadelphia's done in the offseason so far?
Well, let me just pull up their moves here real quick so I can intelligently talk about it.
You are happy that Harden is back, yes?
Yeah, I mean, look, what are you going to do? Let him walk? Like, you can't let James Harden walk. He didn't do what a lot of people thought he could do. But right off the bat, if you recall, when the trade was made, I looked at that 24 games and was like, I'm not sure if this is enough time to really mesh. Now, they played great with him there. The record obviously was, I want to say they were 13-2 maybe the first 15 games.
They started out amazing.
Started off amazing. Yeah. So, I'm happy he's back, with some really good additions. But the bottom line is no matter who you put on this team, right? The bottom line is this. Joel Embiid has to stay healthy. And if he can stay healthy, then, the Sixers could go as far as he takes them. That's just the only problem, right? It's just every year it's something. It's a finger. It's this. It's that. It's a wayward elbow breaking his eye socket. And so
got a lot of bad luck.
A lot of bad luck. Yeah. That is really frustrating. But DeAnthony Melton, he's going to be a nice addition to the squad. Obviously, PJ Tucker, you're not sure what you're going to get out of PJ. I believe he's 37, but very team-friendly deal. 3 years, $30-some million. He's going to bring what they call the dog to the team, which is necessary. So again, you're not signing PJ Tucker in hopes of getting 20 points a game. It's more what he brings to the culture, what he brings on the defensive side of the ball, and Daniel House. We got some decent guys. Maxey, his growth is going to be just paramount for this team to move on. And, I'm a Tobias Harris fan. I know there were rumbles about him getting moved. But, if Tobias Harris is the fourth best player on your team, I think you're doing all right for yourself. So I'm excited. It all is going to come down to Embiid's health and how dedicated James Harden is. Because if James Harden is like, I want what Steph's got, they could be very dangerous.
Yeah, it's kind of like what Rich said. Like, he kind of said it half kidding, but not really. James Harden should call Tom Brady and be like, look, bro, you were older in your career and you completely changed your diet, you changed your fitness, you changed the way you train, and now here you are, you're going to be 45. Obviously, we're not going to see an NBA player at age 45, but,
Who knows? Maybe LeBron. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, LeBron's kind of on that same, Brady trajectory, but you have a way to extend your career and still be successful and play at a high level. How do you feel about Philly's got 14-1 title odds? How do you feel about those?
I'm not, as you know, really great with the odds. So I don't really know if those are good odds or bad odds.
They're eighth. They're the eighth best.
I mean,
you think the Philly's the top 8 team in the league?
I do believe that. So yeah, I have no problem with those odds, and I'm happy with where they're at right now. So we'll see. I still kind of think Daryl's going to make maybe another move or two before it's all said and done. So, we'll see. We'll see.
All right, Adam, let's go to Chicago. TJ, we'll get to the Clippers after I talk about Boston. But Chicago, Zach LaVine's back on a max deal. There's some DeRozan trade rumors. Is that a thing that's going down?
Yeah, I don't see that really happening unless it's a big move for Kevin Durant.
Okay.
I just don't see that happening.
That's kind of the basis of it, right?
Yeah, I'd assume that would be the only worthwhile player to get in return for him. Yeah.
We'll talk about Kevin Durant in a second, but what do you think about Chicago? Have they done anything? They haven't really made much noise.
Not too much. I mean, we signed Andre Drummond, who was an all-star for a couple years, and he's still pretty young. He's 20. I just looked. He's 28 years old.
Wow, you could have told me he was 34, and I believe you.
Yeah. It feels like he's been in the league for a while.
He's also kind of on the first team of I've always looked way older than I was, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Like I was on that for a long time because I used to have this huge goatee. So like in high school, I looked 25.
You had a goatee in high school?
Gigantic.
Wow, I'm surprised you could even grow it in high school.
Yeah, didn't care. Oh man, Yo, I can tell you some story. I mean, I was like the first person growing up to have chest hair, to go bald, to have a goat. Oh yeah.
I had armpit hair when I was like 10 or 11. It made me so conscious of it, like self-conscious, that during basketball games I wouldn't put my arms up because I didn't want people to know I had armpit hair.
That's amazing.
So they'd be like, Adam, go for a rebound. I'd be like,
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Being that age and like having weird stuff start to happen to your body is just so strange.
It's so awkward.
I couldn't imagine going through that again, but go ahead.
Yeah, so anyway, we got on a nice little tangent there, but yeah, no, I like Andre Drummond. He can be a good backup center. The Bulls struggled a lot on rebounding with the bench unit last year, and so he'll provide that rebounding that we definitely need when Vucevic is out of the game. And he's a good defensive player also. So yeah, it's not like a move that'll, make or break the team, but it's a good move. I trust the Bulls management. I really like the guys that are in charge of the Bulls now. And then we also signed Goran Dragic.
Oh yeah, I thought that was a good signing for you guys.
Yeah, he's a good signing. He didn't play too well last year. I looked at his shooting percentage for three-point shooting in Brooklyn. It was like 24%, which is way lower than his normal standard. But he's a good leader. He's a veteran. He's been to the finals before. He can provide some good leadership and some experience for the team. The Bulls kind of have a lot of guards. The problem with the Bulls right now is we just don't know what the health of Lonzo Ball will be next year. Yeah. There's a lot of mixed signals in terms of how he's rehabbing right now. We don't really know a clear outlook on how his knee will be, so I think it's just an insurance for him. But the Bulls have a lot of players in their backcourt now. You have Lonzo and Caruso. Hopefully Caruso will be fully healthy next year. You have Ayo, who had a good rookie year. You have the new rookie the Bulls drafted in Dalen Terry, who I didn't watch him in college. I have to be honest. I did not watch Arizona play, but I watched his clips, and he looks like he's a tough player that could be good on defense, and he's a good passer. And then also you have Kobe White. So there's kind of a lot of backcourt guys. So I don't know how much Dragic will play, but he's a good insurance for the Bulls to have. So I like the signing. And then obviously you have the Zach LaVine max deal, which I'm fine with. I don't know if he's
a great player. He's a walking bucket. I don't know if he can be the best player on a title team, but if somehow you guys work out a trade package and Kevin Durant comes to town, you got to like that Durant-Levine 1-2 punch with Caruso and Lonzo if he's healthy. And I don't know maybe those guys get dealt, but
it's yet to be seen with Zach being the number one player on a championship team. I have my doubts right now, but absolutely he could be a number 2 player if Durant came. And so I like the signing. He's still young. I think he's like 27 still. He's just entering his prime. So yeah, it's a good signing for the Bulls. I liked it.
Looking down at the odds, I mean, I kind of am surprised. The Bulls are 50-1. They're way down.
Wow.
They have the same. They have worse odds. So the Pelicans are 40-1, and then we got the 20s. We got T-Wolves and Mavericks at 25, Grizzlies at 22, and the Raptors and Nuggets at 20.
50-1. That's good odds for the Bulls in terms of like if you're a better than
it's value.
It's
value.
It's good value.
Yeah.
Because this team, I'm not saying that the Bulls will win the East next year, but you never know, though. You just never know. When you have 2 guys that are all-stars on your team that can score 40, 50 points a game, which the Bulls have with DeRozan and LaVine, you just don't know what will happen. And the key is the development this year for the Bulls of Patrick Williams. He's, to me, the make or break for the Bulls. If he takes that next leap, then the Bulls can really contend in the East. But if he's not aggressive and he's passive and he's the same player he was last year, then the Bulls really won't go anywhere. So it depends on him to me.
Yeah. Weird odds considering just how great you guys started the year last year. I mean, one of the most surprising teams, off to such a hot start. Struggled, obviously, against teams with kind of winning records.
Yeah, never could beat any good team.
Like those top 4 teams. Yeah, you kind of beat up on the bad teams, but definitely surprised.
And there's a lot of injuries. I mean, Lonzo was out a lot of
that was a huge deal. So did Caruso, yeah.
So, and those guys are so important in terms of their defense. So.
All right, let's talk about the team that won the offseason, guys. I mean, come on.
Look at this guy glowing.
I'm so happy.
Brockman, this is something, and I was joking with you, but we did have this talk, right after the day after Celtics lost the finals, you came in, you were a little down, and I was trying to hype you up, even though it hurt me because I don't like the Celtics. But I was like, bro, you're in a position no one really thought you'd be in.
Right.
And you played great. I said, all you need to do is you cut down on those turnovers, just get yourself a point guard. To which you replied, well, what do we like? We get a point guard, and what happens with, Marcus Smart?
Smart,
and I'm like, well, that's a good point, but I still think you should that might be the move. And then you guys end up getting.
It also seemed like a good problem to have, too.
Absolutely.
Like, suddenly you have Smart, Defensive Player of the Year. I know people had a lot of issues with that, but whatever.
And I remember you said that. I was like, well, crap, I'd be happy to have that problem.
Yeah, and now the C's go and get Malcolm Brogdon.
Brogdon, yeah.
Yo, Malcolm Brogdon. Remember how good he was on Milwaukee? He won Rookie of the Year, came out like, damn. And then, like the Pacers era for him didn't go great. High expectations based on what he did to start his career, and then he's been banged up. But there's no other way to put it. Injuries have slowed him down, and now he becomes expendable, but he goes to a team where he's not counted on to be the guy, not even going to start. Malcolm Brogdon has admitted like he will embrace the sixth man role. And so what this is able to do now for the Celtics in that second unit, and now maybe in crunch time, is he out there? Is he one of the final 5-minute fourth quarter guys where Smart doesn't have to handle the ball? Jaylen Brown doesn't have to handle the ball. We don't have to see 20 turnovers in an NBA Finals game. Like, that is a huge, huge deal that if you're not a Celtics fan, you wouldn't really think is as important as it is. But I'm so fired up for this. I'm so fired up to get Gallinari. Like, this is a guy who grew up a Celtics fan, loves Larry Bird, like wants to be there, wants to be part of the team and to bring Banner 18. And this is a guy that they need. They need a guy who can make threes. He's 6'10". He can defend if he has to. He can grab a rebound, and he can stand in the corner and make 22-foot three-pointers all day long. He's hit 10 threes in a game before. No one on Boston really has that ability, and we got a guy who can be the 7th, 8th, 9th guy coming off the bench and be able to do that. Boston totally won the offseason, in my opinion, and that's not just a homer pick.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Like, I really think that Brad Stevens is making all the right moves, pushing all the right buttons. He said he's not done. So what is that one final move that Brad's going to make? Now they have suddenly a 10-man rotation, and they're the favorites to win the title, which I think is a little insane. Like, let's be honest. Like, Milwaukee's still probably the best team in the NBA if they're fully healthy. They have the best player on the planet. Chris Middleton is a Olympian, all-star. It sucked that he didn't get to play in the playoffs. It was good for my team, but I still think Milwaukee's probably the best team. They have the same odds. They're 6-1. Phoenix is plus 650. Golden State 7-1 with the Clippers. But I just think Boston really, really did a great job. Like TJ, like you said, they overachieved this year, considering where they started the season, where they were halfway through the season, 500, and then they just kind of got on a rocket ship to the NBA Finals. And to improve the way they did this offseason, sky's the limit now for this team. But now expectations are there, right?
Definitely higher.
Yeah, go ahead.
And they did what the Cincinnati Bengals in the NFL needed to do. Everyone knew that their liability, their one glaring weakness, that weak link in their chain was their offensive line. So what did they immediately do?
They addressed it.
What did they do? They made it to the Super Bowl. They got as far as they could. And then what did they do now? They didn't stand pat. They went and aggressively took the welder's torch to that weak link. And I don't know, they put some vibranium, some titanium around there. When I talked to you, I was like, look, you got to cut down on your turnovers. Yeah. And that's what Malcolm Brogdon does. I was just peeping this. Like, over his career, he's averaged only, and I just say this, only 1.8 turnovers per game.
That's amazing.
Like, his last starting season, he played 36 games, but he had 2.1. Now, just for comparison, Luka, as I'm looking here, he averaged 4.5 turnovers a game. Trae Young is in the 4 turnovers a game. So you got a guy who's really... he's going to protect the ball. He's not going to turn it over. That was your biggest issue at the end of the season and late into the playoffs. So you really did a great job in addressing that, man.
Yeah, I mean, Game 6 of the NBA Finals, the Celtics' 3 best players, Tatum, Brown, and Smart, 13 turnovers. Game 5, I got to imagine it's probably even higher. So that's the one major thing. Boston does a great job shooting the three-pointer. What do? You bring in a guy who's going to make that even better. But addressing the turnover situation and improving the bench, could Brogdon be a starter down the stretch? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, and also you never know how injuries are going to play. Like something could happen.
Yeah, you don't know what's going to happen. But I just think, as a fan, couldn't be more excited. Now the expectations are there. Tatum was first team All NBA. I keep pointing that out. But you got to maintain that level now, and now you got to take it to the next level. Whereas when you have a 2-1 lead in the finals, you're closing that baby out. So
that's your hope.
We'll see. Pretty excited. All right, TJ, Clippers, talk to me.
John Wall.
Let's do it.
I mean, that's it, right? Look, again, we just talked about health. It's always the issue with the Clippers, right? And I've done this on the show before. I've given you like a laundry list. I've given you a Rite Aid receipt list. Do you know how those Rite Aid?
CVS.
I'm sorry, CVS.
8 feet long.
Yeah, I've given you
what
those.
What are we doing?
Like, why are they so long, by the way? Who needs all that?
It's like coupons and ads and stuff on the back of those
like,
things.
how did we do?
By the way,
I
go in there, I go, no, do not give me a receipt. I look at that way and say, I don't want that in my life, Ricky Bobby.
Like I said, Rite Aid. I'm still caught back in the old days with Rite Aid. But yeah, CVS. So, look, John Wall had injury problems the last few years, and we kind of missed it. But John Wall, let's not forget, the dude's a 19-point per game scorer. And guess what? Like he said, he doesn't have to be Batman on this team. Like, God, if you listen and help, in my Sir Smoke-A-Lot voice. But if these guys can stay healthy, my goodness, which is always the problem. But you've got Kawhi, you've got PG. Now John Wall doesn't have to be Batman. He doesn't have to be Superman. He doesn't have to be, number one on the call sheet. Now he can just kind of get in where he fits in. And John Wall even said this himself. You think the third best defender is going to be able to lock me up? Good luck with that. So, you got to worry about Paul. You got to worry about Kawhi. You got to worry about Batum sitting in the corner in the top of the key hitting threes. Terrence Mann is going to do his thing. We re-signed Zubats. That was great. We lost Hartenstein, which, kind of hurts a little bit because our big situation wasn't that great. But, big shot Bob Covington. I believe the Marcus Morris will probably be back. Luke Kennard, hopefully. I like Luke. Yeah. Keep him. So I'm excited to see what a healthy Clippers team can do because, Kawhi Leonard obviously, missed some games throughout his career. But when healthy and on that court, you're hard-pressed to find 5 better players than Kawhi Leonard in basketball.
Yeah, in a weird way, Adam, the Clippers not only added John Wall, but they're also going to add Kawhi and Paul George to next year's team. So suddenly maybe they win the offseason in a weird way.
Yeah, absolutely. The Clippers, to me, are for sure title contenders.
And I forgot Norman Powell, who we got picked up last year. So, another big move there. So.
Norman Powell, really good player. John Wall can either be the sixth man or start. Either way, I think he'll be playing down the stretch. And like I talked about in the past podcast, you could have that lineup where you have Reggie Jackson, John Wall, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, and Nick Batum is your final 5 down the stretch.
Hey, let me tell you something. I ain't mad at that. I'm
crazy not mad at that lineup. Crazy outside shooting.
Yeah, everybody can shoot. Everybody can score.
Yeah.
And even if you want to put Zubac in there to get some rebounds, you still have guys all around him that can shoot. That's a great team. I like Ty Lue a lot. I think he's a really good coach. And yeah, TJ, I know that you're scared. I know you have PTSD. I know you've had some scarring moments in the past. I know you were scared to be excited, but I think the summer of 2022, in front of the 2022-2023 season, you, TJ Jefferson, need to be excited about your Los Angeles Clippers.
I'm always excited. There's always a little bit of trepidation, but I'm always excited because it's always like you get the biggest what if, and just if we could stay healthy. You guys know my dream is a Sixers Clippers NBA final. I'm convinced that before
that sounds like a nightmare though. Like, who would you root for?
Well, nightmares are dreams too. Just keep that in mind. But I'm convinced that the good Lord, before He calls me home, is going to reward one of His favorite sons and let me witness this in person.
Well, how would you do that though? Like, what would you do? How would you root?
Would you go to every game? Would you just go back and forth?
Well, I'd have to boost up my economic status. I'd have to maybe hit this Mega Millions that we're talking about. But if I had Jimmy Goldstein money, of course, I'd be there.
Ask Jimmy, make friends with Jimmy, and ask him to hop on the jet.
How do you not know Jimmy Goldstein at this point? You've been out here long enough.
Yeah, I've met him once or twice, but I mean, we ain't down like that. Right. But how do I watch this game? It's very interesting. Anytime I go to a Clippers-Sixers game, as my friend Riley would tell you, because we've been watching Clippers together for 20 years, so we've seen about 13 Clippers-Sixers games. I just basically sit there and I root for good basketball. Like, you probably never seen someone who will cheer on this end of the court, cheer on that end of the court. I pretty much turn into more of a coach then, because if I see something that someone does bad, it infuriates me, and then I get hyped up for the guys that do well. I guess maybe some would find it weird, but it's just the way I watch those two play.
If you had to have one team win, who would it be? If you just had to have one.
You know, again, and I've had this thought forever. It's like, man, the Sixers.
You want the
Dr.
Clippers
J is my second favorite athlete besides Muhammad Ali. I only have 2 sports idols, Dr. J and Muhammad Ali. So my entire life, I'm a Sixer fan. But I've been out here 20 plus years. I've had Clippers season tickets. And the thing is, the Clippers have never won. At least I was alive in '83. Obviously I didn't stay up and watch the game. I was a kid, but I can remember that the Sixers won the title. I've never seen the Clippers do anything. So if I'd have to say, that would be the tiebreaker, because this team did win.
It would be amazing if the Clippers won the title.
And
could you imagine?
For me to live in Los Angeles,
yes,
right?
Exactly.
When I moved in Los Angeles in 1999, no one knew me. I could have easily hopped on that Laker bandwagon. And as much as I love basketball, you know how lovely my life would have been the last 20 years as a Laker fan? I mean, take a few bad years. That's 5 titles. I've never sniffed anything like that as a Clipper fan. So I truly believe that as a Clipper fan who sat here through all these years of Lakers success, if they win and I get to see it, that's going to be, that's going to be the greatest thing in the world.
And Laker fans like O'Shea are going to be
so
mad.
That'll be the best part.
So mad.
And I don't know what makes me happier, the fact that I'm going to be happy or the fact that they're going to be mad. But the fact of the matter is, it hasn't happened. We haven't come close. But, man, if it does, it would be glorious. So if you're asking me if they played each other, who I'd root for, oh, man, that's tough. I might have to go for the team who's never won a title.
Yeah, so they have the third best odds. They're so Boston and Milwaukee are 6-1, like I said. Phoenix is 13-2, and then Golden State and the Clippers are 7-1. Should they have the same odds as the Warriors, who just won the title?
The Warriors lost a lot of good bench players. Gary Payton was lost.
Otto Porter.
Right? Otto Porter. I'm missing somebody else, but
well, they re-signed Looney, which I thought Looney was going to dip, to be honest with you, but he re-signed. So
one of the dudes went to the Lakers.
Juan Toscano Anderson.
Toscano, yeah. But then you have to think that you also will be adding Weissman will hopefully be healthy.
Weissman looked really good the other night.
Yeah, and then there's more of a role for Moody, who's young, and then Kuminga. Yeah, Kuminga is expected to take a leap next year. Yeah. And it kind of
and Steph will be back to. I mean, Clay will be back to 100%.
Yeah.
To me,
I'm worried about them, man. You have to be worried about it.
I like the Warriors again in the West right now.
You got to be worried about them.
Yeah, they're just a great team, and until they show weakness, to me, they're the favorite. I think Poole also will have another better year than he even did this year.
Probably.
He'll improve. He's still
Expectations are going to be high for Poole, though.
Yep.
That is true. That is very true. There's not as much. Would you say there's not as much pressure necessarily on him because he's won a ring now? But there is more.
I think he's got more pressure.
You think there's more pressure?
Yeah,
okay,
I think
that's
there's
interesting.
more pressure.
And I guess he's playing for the contract also.
Yeah, he's playing for this max deal. He's paying for $200 million.
So there is more pressure. I was wrong about that.
Yeah. I think a really interesting fight. I mean, as much as I want Boston to make it back, but like Milwaukee at 100% against Golden State at 100%, like that's kind of an NBA Finals I wouldn't mind.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
Seeing 7 games of.
I'd love to see. Obviously, he cannot stop him, but I'd love to see Draymond try to get in the head of Giannis and just see what would happen.
Impossible. Giannis would put 50 on him all day.
Yeah. But it would just be fun to see Draymond try to fight that.
Yeah.
Well, here's something real quick, guys, that we can chat about since we've made it through our teams. On the big show, I'm doing the thing where I talk about the NBA GOATs, the greatest player per franchise. So maybe real quick, run through these and just kind of quickly get you guys' thoughts on some of these picks that I made. I kicked it off with the Southwest Division. We start off with that. So that's Dallas, Houston, Memphis, New Orleans, and San Antonio. Actually, that was the second one. But I had Dirk Nowitzki as the greatest Dallas Maverick, Hakeem as the greatest Rocket, Zach Randolph as the greatest Grizzlies player. Came down to Anthony Davis for the Pelicans and Tim Duncan for the Spurs. Just what do you guys think about those picks there?
Yeah, I kind of think the ones right off the bat were pretty no-brainers. I really think there was kind of no controversy. It's kind of weird. The NBA ones.
A little slightly easier than
it's
when I did the NFL.
Definitely slightly easier. I think when we get to Boston and LA,
that's going to be
New
tough,
York, those ones are going to be.
That's why I kind of left them for last.
Pretty difficult, But you just look some of these franchises that maybe are not as old either. When you're talking about.
Yeah, for instance, Adam. Today I picked the Charlotte Hornets,
Right.
and I went with Kemba Walker. And I can probably tell you that's going to be the least sexy pick probably of all of these. But their franchise history is such where they don't really have a great history of winning. So, I picked Kemba in there for the greatest Charlotte Hornet.
I would disagree with you on that. I'd say it's Alonzo Mourning.
I thought so too.
That's kind of what I was thinking. Guys, when you say Charlotte Hornet, that was kind of my first thought.
Yeah. And I thought
I'd have to go look at Kemba's stats, which I'm sure are amazing.
Well, like I said, Alonzo, my initial criteria was you have to play at least 3 seasons for a team. Alonzo played 3, period. Incredible 3 years.
I didn't realize it was only 3
I
years.
guess I thought it was longer.
You all think that, but no, remember then he left. So, Kemba is the all-time leading scorer in the franchise, has the most dimes. And just like, it wasn't maybe the most sexy pick, but that's who
only 3 seasons.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
So
yeah, I guess when I think of Charlotte Hornets, I just immediately think of Larry Johnson and Alonzo Mourning.
Because that
playoff game against Boston when Alonzo hit the jumper and won.
I always think of those.
And then he was gone.
Yeah.
It was
wow.
And then I started off with the Central because I was like, this is the easiest division. It's the Bulls. That's obviously Jordan. It's the Cavs. It's obviously LeBron. It's the Pistons. Obviously Isaiah. It's the Pacers. Obviously Reggie Miller. But then we got to the Bucks. And I spent about 3 hours, believe it or not, copying and pasting, going stat for stat, back and back, going, all right, Giannis is 6 years, Kareem's 6 years.
Yeah.
I wanted to give this to Giannis, but it's
can't.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, man, and the guy
yet.
averaged 32 points, 18 rebounds. He had 3 MVPs. He won, 10 years from now, I said, when this list is done, whoever does this, it's going to be Giannis. But as of right now, if I just put them together and you combine where they're at in their career, I had to go with Kareem as the greatest Buck of all time, with the nod that it will be Giannis, though.
You could have went Marcus Johnson maybe with Milwaukee, too.
Marcus, he had a great career, but I don't think that he...
No, I know, but he played 7 years for Milwaukee, that's all I'm saying.
He was a great player. And obviously, one of the greatest after basketball careers of all time, with one of the greatest roles and one of the greatest movies of all time. So...
Yeah, no doubt. No, I think it's doing a great job. It's
I appreciate
a little
that.
Easier with the NBA stuff. I kind of gave you some grief today about the Heat, but
yeah, I mean that's fine. That's our thing. We go back and forth. That's
you
what we
came
do.
to the right conclusion. I was just surprised you even considered LeBron. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, but like I said, if LeBron plays any amount of time on your team, you have to at least acknowledge the fact that he's one of the greatest players of all time.
Well, to me, and obviously it was. I didn't realize the Alonzo Mourning thing, that he was only 3 years.
I have no idea that.
I mean, because as you know, I'm a huge Georgetown fan, so I love Alonzo. Sure. So I knew that, he didn't stay there long.
LeBron didn't play that many years on the Heat either. I think it was like four.
Yeah. But he won 2 titles,
and he was so dominant. In LeBron, when he was in Miami, that was his absolute
peak.
That was like his. Yeah. Ultimate prime. He had several primes, but that was his ultimate prime.
Yeah.
And when I think Miami Heat, though, I just think Dwayne Wade.
Yeah, that's why. And I went with Wade, but you have to acknowledge the fact that LeBron, if you have a Mount Rushmore, he's got to be on it for that team, But yeah, D Wade, what he meant to I've got friends in Miami, what he meant to the culture, the city. He was the Heat, So, and I think I also did the Southwest Division today, which I think probably surprised you when I got to the Hawks and I picked Bob Pettit over Dominique Wilkins, but it just turned out they won 1 title. Bob Pettit was the best player.
Yeah,
he was a 4-time All-Star Game MVP, 11-time All-Star.
He's one of the 75 greatest. He's one of the 50 greatest. He's one of the 75
So as much
greatest.
as I love Dominique, but I mean, if I'm going to be real and try to have some type of, people respect this list, Bob Pettit. And then the Hornets, of course, I said Kemba, the Heat, Wade. The Magic came down to Shaq and Dwight Howard, and again, I think it just came down to Howard did it for a little bit longer than Shaq, plus his Defensive Player of the Years, which for whatever reason, we always crap on people who don't play defense, and yet here you got a guy who Defensive Player of the Year 3 times in a row, and no one really ever talks.
Well, I mean,
not in a row. I'm sorry, but
yeah, I mean, on the 75th team, Dwight was the biggest omission for me.
I would say so.
That's just
he's been so disrespected.
Totally.
Yeah.
And part of it is he's not the most likable player. Kobe didn't like him originally.
Right. Well, his Lakers tenure was kind of a disaster.
But it's weird because he's always like smiling and looking like he's having a good time. So it's really weird that
He was so amazing in his prime.
He was the face of the league first. Remember the Superman stuff at the dunk contest? Like, incredible.
That was another thing Shaq was hating on him. So
because he took the nickname.
He just got a bad rap from a lot of people. But in his prime, he was the best center in the league by far, a dominant defensive force, and he led that Magic team to the finals against the Lakers. And he was unbelievable that year. So there's a lot of people who don't respect Dwight Howard. He's not in his prime anymore. He's not anywhere near what he used to be, but that guy he
was a baller, man.
A 100% Hall of Famer.
Yeah, 100% will make the Hall of Fame. I just think it's weird we're going to live in a world where, like, Shaq isn't the greatest player in the history of one of the teams he played on. It's
Trust me, it was
crazy to think about.
When I was hitting send on the email last night, I was like, really? Like, am I going to do this? But
Shaq's not the greatest Magic, arguably. He's not the greatest Laker.
Now, can you say Shaq had a greatest season of a Laker? Yeah, you can put him in there, but
sure. I mean,
the
Shaq
Lakers are going to be
2000 is just one of the greatest seasons ever.
Shaq from 99 to 2002 was
unstoppable.
Honestly, if I'm going to create an all-time team and I get to pick them from any era,
MDE, most dominant ever.
I might start the 5 with Shaq because the 2000 Shaquille O'Neal was there was literally nothing you could do to stop this man. Nothing.
Great. Before we get out,
sorry, Chris, I just ended with Wes Unsold. Unsold with the Wizards there, even though you thought it should be Michael Jordan.
Bullets and Wizards. I think you should have separated the two.
Like it did with the Oilers and the Titans.
What about George Mirasan?
That's all I'm saying.
Shout out to Jorge Mirasan. Yeah.
Although Ben Lyons had a good point, Gilbert Arenas is the greatest wizard ever.
He's the most controversial wizard.
For multiple reasons. Hibachi. His Hibachi year where he was throwing up 60 was just incredible.
It was a little ridiculous.
He had stupid confidence levels. His confidence was off the charts.
Multiple 60-point games in a season. That's absurd. Real quickly, let's just talk about Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving real quick because they've kind of been dominating the offseason because there really hasn't been much movement. Like we said, guys are just kind of re-upping, signing the max deals with their team. And then Kevin Durant's like, cool, I want to be traded. Do you think that was just a move to get Kyrie out and that Kevin Durant's not really going anywhere? Or do you think they're both gone and Durant ends up in Miami or Phoenix or Chicago or Golden State or who knows where? Like, what do you think is going to happen with these guys, Adam?
It's madness right now in Brooklyn.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. We don't know if they'll have both those guys, if they'll have neither. That team right now could be potentially the worst team in the NBA or the NBA champions by the end of the year.
Yeah.
We have no idea what's happening right now. I don't know. Brooklyn is not going to give up Kevin Durant without getting extreme value. I think you sent me that post where they're trying to trade with Minnesota and they asked for Edwards and Towns, which is absurd.
They asked for everybody, like Edwards, Towns, and 5 picks.
Yeah, that's
why wouldn't they?
Absolutely absurd.
Because how do you get equal value back for Kevin Durant? Here's the thing. You can't give up your 2 guys who are under 30 superstars. Right. Like that's just creating multiple draft picks.
So like what team could do it, would want to do it? I don't know.
Phoenix jumps out.
They make the most sense.
Making the most sense. Apparently Phoenix wants Devin Booker, which is obviously Brooklyn wants Devin Booker, which can't happen.
Can't happen.
So you trade Ayton, and then he signs the max deal, and then Bridges, and maybe Cam Johnson and a couple draft picks. That just makes sense to me. That's a championship contender with the big 3.
And it makes Brooklyn Booker, really good too.
Chris Paul. Yeah, Brooklyn can compete.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they'll win the East, but they can be a playoff team with that team.
Totally.
But when you have Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and Chris Paul on a team, that's instant championship contenders, and they're better than last year. So it's either the Suns.
I don't know what Miami sends back. I mean, Hero, like everybody except for Bam, because there's some weird like contract rule where they can't trade Bam.
I'll say this: I don't think either one of them go anywhere. I think when the season starts, Kyrie, Kevin Durant will both be.
And then Simmons and Joe Harris, and they just run it back?
I kind of think so because the Lakers are going to have to. I mean, we all kind of think maybe Kyrie can end up on the Lakers, but something tells me that
most
likely.
Why
would the Lakers? I mean, why would the Nets ever do that?
Just give,
that doesn't make sense.
That's what I'm saying. Like you can't get equal value for these guys, so you might as well keep them. So I don't think either one of them end up moving.
The Bulls can honestly have a great package for Durant. You have DeMar DeRozan,
Patrick Williams,
Kobe White, and 2 or 3 first-round picks. That's a great package. And then you pair him up with Zach LaVine that team can compete also for a championship.
Kevin Durant and Zach LaVine aren't competing for a championship.
What do you mean? Of course they are. You have Kevin Durant, who's a top 10 player, and Zach LaVine, who's at least a top 25, really top 30 player, is a number 2 option. And then you have a healthy Lonzo Ball. You have Vucevic back.
Does that team beat the Celtics? Does that team beat the Celtics?
They would not be the favorite, but they could beat them.
Yeah.
So that team can contend.
Yeah, it's wild. I think Kyrie's gone. I weirdly think Durant's going to come back. I mean, the team put out the season ticket information panel the other day, and Durant's in the photo, but Kyrie isn't. That weirdly says a lot to me. Like maybe,
you were saying,
like maybe the owner and Durant kind of worked something out, or maybe it was just a move. Maybe it was kind of a chess play by KD and his team to be like, let's get this trade talk out. Let's get that leaked. So then Kyrie will force his way to L.A. and then I can, have this team to myself with, Ben Simmons and Joe Harris and Seth Curry and whoever else.
In Westbrook potentially.
Yeah, maybe Westbrook.
And I think we may have spoken about this on the big show yesterday, or maybe we didn't. But you also have to look at if this is going to work. Kevin Durant loves basketball, right?
Yeah, he's a hooper.
We like basketball. Kevin Durant loves basketball. Kevin Durant would play probably 24 hours a day if he could. And then you got Ben Simmons, who we don't think loves basketball. I don't know how that combination is going to work when you got a gym rat and a guy who doesn't appear to be a gym rat. Like I said, I believe in the beginning of the season, both of them are on the Nets. You notice I didn't say by the end of the season they'd both be on the Nets, though, because that part I'm not sure of. Who knows? It's
interesting. All right, so I just wanted to get out of there on that. And real quickly before we go, any Summer League? What do you got? Chet versus Paolo? How awesome is that?
Chet balled at the beginning, but then, Kenny Lofton Jr., who, by the way, I don't understand how he was undrafted. I really don't.
I don't understand also how he's not the son of...
He's not.
He's not, right?
Exactly.
And he's a junior.
So,
there's another Kenny Lofton just walking around.
Yeah, that was not the center fielder.
He kind of put it on Chet a little bit game 2, and the hype died down. The next thing you know, all of a sudden, they're sitting Chet Holmgren out. That was a little weird to me, but Paolo balled out. So
I love Paolo.
I'm a fan,
I followed Duke very closely last year. I watched a lot of their games. Paolo is a potential superstar. He's got the total package offensively, and he's huge. He's 6'10", 250, built like a brick. He's only going to get bigger as he gets in the league. He can shoot outside. He can post people up. I love that pick by the Magic, and everybody thought that they were going to pick Jabari Smith going into the draft. It was pretty much a guarantee. And they had that change of heart, and I think they made the smart pick with Paolo. Yeah. And it'll be fun to see him and Chet in a potential rivalry, 2022 draft class rivalry, along with Jabari. So Chet has potential to be special.
I think so.
Game-changing defensive player, especially. He can shoot for a big man.
He's gonna block shots.
Just the fact I was going there that he can become a Dikembe Mutombo like shot blocker, where he's blocking 2 or 3 shots every single game.
I think so too, yeah.
It's going to be tough with his frame. Maybe he'll never be... He's got to put on some muscle. He has to. He'll never be ripped. He'll never be yoked.
He's not going to be Zion.
No.
You know what I mean?
And he won't even be Giannis. But if he can just put on like 15, 20 pounds of muscle over the next couple years and establish himself in the paint and continue to work on his jumper, that guy can be a superstar as well. So
there's no reason why he can't be 20-10 and 3 blocks.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no reason.
But this is me. I'm always hesitant when you're mentioning Dikembe Mutombo. The Dikembe Mutombo, who's the second greatest shot blocker in the history of the NBA. To kind of say like he could be Dikembe, like. I mean, that's a bold statement, Cotton. That's all I'm saying.
Just in terms of altering shots in the paint. I mean, he had 6 blocks in his first game.
Yeah, against Summer League competition. Either one of you probably could have scored at least 2 points in one of those games. So
I would have hit a corner 3. Give me 3.
For sure.
Stop it. All right, everybody, keep enjoying the summertime. We'll be back next week to talk about more. Hopefully, Kevin Durant's on the move and he'll give us something to talk about.
Sixers.
Katie Trey 5, if you're out there, maybe
call in,
do some stuff. So we have stuff to talk about.
Rich
All right, keep enjoying, everybody. Thanks for watching. TJ, Adam,
man.
Brockman here. We're out.
Peace.